every time you do an activity in dashboard, there's a real-time dashboard. Up at the top is usually where the timer would be, a start, extend time buttons if you needed to. And then as you scroll down, details on the configuration for the specific activity, a lot of configuration, how much time you plan for, how much time it actually took, average time per question, who started, who's timed out. And if you scroll down just a shade further, you'll see, the mean in this case is about 51%. And then where I love to spend most of my time is on the item analysis section. And in that section, you'll see, what questions most of the students are getting wrong. In this one, we sort it by failure rate. So question 4, 65% of the students got that wrong. And then we also have the distribution of answer choices as well about where they were most getting it. And if you click on the 4 with the I button for the question, you can actually see the exact text of the question. And so this populates about every 20 seconds while the students are still working. And if you just close out this one, there's a few other statistics, the average time, and in the right column, the point by serial correlation coefficient. Looks like we have some problems with question 3. They got a negative point by serial. I guess it's a small population. But this is sort of data comes in real time. And so this really allows you to check your notes, references, and really have a sense of where the trouble spots may be. And then also we have a table below that shows student by student. We don't need to show that one too quickly. I can't embarrass anybody on the results. But that's the individual test dashboard. And then if you go up top, there's a little button to take us to the team dashboard. So just like the individuals test, we have the team test dashboard, same sort of timing controls, same sort of things up top. And then, the plan time, actual time. And then if you scroll a little bit further down, which team started, finished, the mean on the team test, scroll a little bit further down, and then the item analysis, and you can compare the individual versus the team. And then the last one is the clarifications a little bit further down as well. So the comments that teams are making. And then the next section shows the team analysis. And that will show a row for each team, a column for each question. If you scroll a little bit to the right, you'll see that questions 1, 2, and 3 worked really well. Question 4, a couple of teams, took a few more tries to get that. And so you'll very quickly see not only where the trouble spots are at the individual level, but also the team level and the order which teams are selecting as well. This is originally built for an in-person classroom and now does both in-person and online. But this is the sort of thing that I would look at to make sure that I could see how the different teams are progressing. And then if you click on the team number, if you click on, say, team 1 or team 2, you'll see the names of the people on that team. So you can really keep track of this, especially if you get large classes, large numbers of teams pretty easily. If you go into the clarifications tab, that's where a technique that a number of TBL educators use is instead of going through all the questions on the IRAT and TRAT, they will be just looking at the ones where teams flagged for clarification. And so, for example, in this one, question 1, team 1 had a comment about wanting to add peer evaluation. Team 2 had a comment about splitting between A and D due to the semantics of independent learning versus pre-work. And so what you might do is you might say, okay, team 1 had a concern, team 2 had a concern, team 3, you don't have any concerns. Why don't you address that question that team 1 or team 2 raised? And that's a great way to sort of facilitate discussion. But the other thing that you're doing as well is that you're also tracking all the questions that come up. So if you go to review your course year after year for continuous improvement purposes, you can go back and see the comments that questions and teams or teams were raising in their comments and use that to maybe reflect on the module for continuous improvement. But with that, and then the other option too, if you go to the far right tab, which is questions, then you can, some people do like to facilitate specific questions. You have options to show the correct answer statistics and the correct answer. If you wanted to go in and say, okay, great, most of the class got this one or this team got this one, and also options to show the correct answer as well. So different ways to facilitate after the individual test and the team test, but again, generally done on an exception basis. Here's sort of the peek at the instructor dashboard. So you can see the timing controls. If you want to just hit the extend time button real quick, you do have the opportunity to extend time or deduct time if you want. We do have some institutions that say, we wait till half the teams are done and then you have 5 minutes left. And so they want to be able to flex the time up or down as needed. So there's a lot of that timing flexibility in there. If you go to the other parts, you can also pause the application or end it. So everyone's done. Let's just hit the end button and then move on with our discussion. So we'll just end that here. Other things in here, a lot of detail. There's some visibility controls that we have where if you want to release the results to students or not, there's a lot of different ways to do that. There's also ways to download the activities as well to an Excel file, which some people use as well. If you go a little bit further down, you'll see the item analysis for the applications. And then if you go a little further down, you'll see the team analysis for the applications. Again, this is the private instructor dashboard. And finally, the last block below will have a little bit more of a presentation style. And if you hit the presentation mode button, it'll just bring up the presentation mode. And in that presentation mode, they do have our leaderboard on the left, which shows the progress of the different teams, and then the question tab. And that's really designed for facilitation.